kids! My name is Miss Smith and I am so excited for today's story. It's one that I love more than almost any story in the whole world. It's called Library Lion. Can you read that? Library Lion. Yeah, and look how worn away the cover is. What? Because I've read it so many times. But before I read it with you today, I want to make sure that you know about letter L. Will you say letter L 3 times? Letter L, letter L, letter L. Nice job. Letter L is a consonant letter, which means we're going to use our tongue and our teeth to make the sound. What I'll do is I'll push my tongue in front of my teeth and push some air out while I use my voice to go, oh. Can you do that? Ready? Oh, nice job. The sign language for letter L is super simple. What you do is take your pointer finger straight up, your thumb straight out, and it kind of looks like a capital L. And you say, letter L. Can you do it? Letter L. You got it. This time, will you bounce the L forward 3 times as we make the letter L sound O? Ready? Oh, oh, oh. Nice job. Okay. So, I hope you're good at letter L because we're going to need to know it in order to read about the lion. Can you do it? The lion. Nice job. Let's find out what happens to this cute lion. One day, a lion came to the library. He walked right past the circulation desk and up into the stacks. Into the stacks means into all the stacks of books. And you can see the man sitting behind the desk is super surprised. He goes, Can you do it like him? Ready? Because of course you would be super shocked to see a lion in a library. Mr. McBee ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. Miss Merriweather, he called. No running, said Miss Merriweather without looking up. But there's a lion, said Mr. McBee, in the library. Is he breaking any rules? Asked Miss Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. That means she didn't want anyone to break any of the rules. Is he breaking any rules? Asked Miss Merriweather. Well, no, said Mr. McBee. Not really. Then leave him be. What? Oh, goodness. I want to know, would you just leave a lion alone in a library? Or no, you would say, we have to get rid of the lion. What would you do? Okay, some kids say let him stay. Other kids say, no way, it's a lion. That's way too dangerous. The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalog. That means he sniffed at the cards that tell you where the books are. He rubbed his head against the new book collection. Then he padded over to the story corner and went to sleep. No one was sure what to do. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. Because of course they've probably never had that situation before. Soon it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions at story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous, but she read out the first book's title in a good, clear voice. The lion looked up. When he heard her read the title, he looked up like he was interested. Can you do it like him? Ready? Good. The lion looked up. The story lady kept reading. The lion stayed for the next story, and the story after that. He waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. Story hour is over, a little girl told him. It's time to go. The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books. Then he roared very loud. Roar! Can you do it like you're mad that story time is over? Ready? Roar! Good. I think he did not want to stop reading. Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office. "Who is making that noise?" she demanded. "It's the lion," said Mr. McBee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion. "If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave," she said in a stern voice. "Those are the rules." Can you do it like you're very serious about not breaking the rules, and do it like she did and say, "Those are the rules." Ready? "Those are the rules." Yeah. The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. "If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow?" she asked. The lion stopped roaring. He looked at Miss Merriweather and he looks at her like, Could I come back tomorrow? Will you look like you want someone to say yes? Ready? Good. Miss Merriweather looked back. Then she said, "Yes, a nice quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow." "Hooray!" said the children. Oh dear, what's going to happen with the lion in the library the next day? The next day, the lion came back. "You are early," said Miss Merriweather. "Story hour is not until 3 o'clock." The lion did not budge. That means he didn't move even a little bit. He just stayed there. "Very well," said Miss Merriweather. "You might as well make yourself useful." She sent him to dust the encyclopedias until it was time for story hour. That means he's using his tail to brush the dust off of all the books. The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Miss Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. Now he's helping to get the envelopes ready so they can send out all the library's mail. Soon, the lion began doing things without being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, he licked the envelopes, he let small children stand on his back to reach the books on the highest shelves. Then he curled up in the story corner to wait for story hour to begin. Give me a little thumbs up if you would like to stand on the back of a lion so that you could reach the highest books. A lot of kids say, yeah, that would be fun. At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion, but soon they got used to having him around. In fact, he seemed very well suited for the library. That means it seemed like he belonged in the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor. He made a comfy backrest for the children at story hour, and he never roared in the library anymore. "What a helpful lion," people said. They patted his soft head as he walked by. How did we ever get along without him? Mr. McBee scowled when he heard that. If he scowls, that means he makes a grumpy face because he doesn't like the fact that all the people like the lion. So if I say, "What a helpful lion," can you do a scowl like Mr. McBee did, like you don't like that? "What a helpful lion," people said. Good. Mr. McBee scowled when he heard that. They had always gotten along fine before. No lions were needed. Lions, he thought, could not understand rules. They did not belong in the library. But knowing that this lion follows the rules, show me thumbs up or down. Do you still think the lion should be allowed to stay or should have to go? Okay, a lot of kids say maybe he should be allowed to stay. One day, after he had dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour. "Hello, lion," said Miss Merriweather. "I know something you can do. You can bring a book back into the stacks for me. Let me just get it down from the shelf." Miss Merriweather stepped up onto the step stool. The book was just out of reach. Oh, she can't quite reach it. Miss Merriweather stood on her toes. She stretched out her fingers. "Almost there," she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. Uh-oh. And you can tell just by looking that Miss Merriweather has fallen. She's landed on the floor. "Ouch," said Miss Merriweather softly. She did not get up. "Mr. McBee," she called after a minute. "Mr. McBee." Can you call his name 2 times like you're in pain? Ready? "Mr. McBee, Mr. McBee." Good. But Mr. McBee was at the circulation desk. He could not hear her calling. "Lion," said Miss Merriweather, "please go and get Mr. McBee." The lion ran down the hall. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. Oh, she still wants him to follow the rules even when he's trying to help her. The lion put his big front paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. "Go away, lion," said Mr. McBee. "I'm busy." The lion whined. That means he made a soft noise with his throat like, Can you do that? Ready? Good. He pointed his nose down the hall toward Miss Merriweather's office. Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing he could think of to do. He looked Mr. McBee right in the eye, then he opened his mouth very wide, and he roared the loudest roar he had ever roared in his life. Roar! Can you do it? Ready? Roar! Good. He's very concerned about getting Miss Merriweather some help. Mr. McBee gasped. Can you do that like him? Ready? "You're not being quiet," he said to the lion. "You're breaking the rules." Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and walked toward the doors. Oh, I think the lion knows he has to leave because he broke the rules. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called as he walked. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules. The lion broke the rules." And you can tell he's very excited to tell Miss Merriweather that the lion broke the rules because he wants to get the lion in trouble. He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk, "there is a good reason to break the rules, even in a library. Now please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." Mr. McBee ran to call a doctor. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. But did you hear what just happened? The lion broke the rules by roaring, but Mr. McBee broke the rules by running. So now they've actually both broken the rules. The next day, things were back to normal. Almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor had told her not to work too hard. "I will have my lion to help me," Miss Merriweather thought. But the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner. The story lady was just beginning a story for the children. The lion was not there. Oh, I wonder where he is. People in the library kept looking up from their books and computer screens, hoping they would see a familiar furry face. But the lion did not come that day. The lion did not come the next day either, or the day after that. And I can tell by looking at the expressions of everyone that they're very sad. Look at these 2 kids. Can you see that they're frowning? They're upset that the lion isn't there. One evening, Mr. McBee stopped by Miss Merriweather's office on his way out. "Can I do anything for you before I go, Miss Merriweather?" he asked her. "No, thank you," said Miss Merriweather. She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. Mr. McBee frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Miss Merriweather after all. I wonder what he's going to do for her because she already said she didn't need anything. Mr. McBee left the library, but he did not go home. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked under cars. He looked behind bushes. He looked in backyards and trash cans and the tree houses. Raise your hand if you think you know what he's looking for or who he's looking for. He's probably looking for the lion. Yep, I think so too. Finally, he circled all the way back to the library. The lion was sitting outside, looking through the glass doors. "Hello, Lion," said Mr. McBee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a new rule at the library. No roaring allowed unless you have a very good reason. Say, if you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. That means his ears moved like he was listening more closely. Can you do that with your ears if I say the lion's ears twitched like you're listening very closely? The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McBee was already walking away. The next day, Mr. McBee walked down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. McBee?" asked Miss Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. Mr. McBee smiled. "No running," he called after her. But you can tell he doesn't mean it because he's smiling when he says it. Can you do no running like you don't really mean it? Ready? "No running," he called after her. Miss Merriweather didn't listen. Sometimes there was a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. And I love this page because Miss Merriweather is hugging the lion and they look so happy to be reunited, to be back together. And all the children and the adults are clapping and cheering. They're so glad to have their library lion back. I love that story so much because of course lions don't normally go into a library, but this one was kind and he followed all the rules and he was helpful. Okay, before you go, can you show me if you remember sign language for letter L? Remember? Yep, point your finger and thumb straight out and you say letter L. Ready? Letter L. And can you do the letter L like it's walking down the hall at the library and say oh, oh, oh. Like it's just walking. Ready? Oh, oh, oh. Nice job. You got it. Okay. See you next time. Bye.